Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today's video going to be a wee preview of tomorrow's third Champions League fixture away from home against Atalanta in Bergamo. A game where Celtic will be looking for a much improved performance in comparison to the abject failure of the 7-1 lost to Borussia Dortmund in Game 2 in this Champions League campaign. And I think certainly all us Celtic fans are looking for Celtic to put up a much improved fight, defend better, and be much more tactically aware and much better set up by Rodgers and the coaches going into the game. Rather than what appeared to be a rather disorganised, over-attacking formation and set up for the game against Borussia Dortmund a few weeks ago. Today's video going to involve just one or two wee variations on potential formations, what I think Rodgers actually will go for, plus a wee update on injury situation, and a couple of other issues going into the game against Atalanta tomorrow evening in Bergamo. Before we do crack on with the video, please do, if you are new to the channel and like the channel and the videos, etc., please do click that subscriber button. Keep the numbers pushing nearer and nearer to 1,100. If you do like the video, please do click that like button. And finally, do pop your pleasant, polite thoughts, debating points, comments, opinions into the comment section regarding what you feel will be the likely result tomorrow, any tweaks in the tactics and formations that Rodgers may go for, and any other matters relating to tomorrow's game against Atalanta in Game 3 of the 2024-25 Champions League campaign. Good news coming out of Celtic in terms of training and fitness. Cameron Carter-Vickers was taking a full part in the final training session prior to leaving for tomorrow's game in Italy. And it does look like he is very, very likely to be back in Celtic's starting lineup for the game against Atalanta tomorrow. So the lineup that I think Brendan Rodgers will actually go for is a variation on our standard 4-3-3. Back four with Kasper Schmeichel in goals, back four Alsa Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers back at right centre-back, Liam Scales left centre-back, and Alex Valley deputising for the injured Greg Taylor on the left at left-back. Callum McGregor in a defensive midfield position, with Rio Hatate starting also in a more defensive starting position, although with the freedom to push forward more into central midfield to support Arne Engels there. I think they'll play Dyson Maeda wide out on the left and Nicholas Kuhn wide out on the right, but both starting a wee bit deeper and more central than usual, and Kyogo up front, trying to use Kyogo's pace in behind, and Kyogo's pace starting on the shoulder of the last defender, with players such as Maeda, Kuhn, McGregor, Hatate, and Engels releasing him into the space, and then the wide players and midfielders joining Kyogo in the middle to hopefully put away the chances. Starting Hatate that bit deeper and bringing Maeda and Kuhn in a bit more centrally and a bit deeper should hopefully give Celtic a bit more strength in midfield, a bit more strength in defence and also more cover and linkage play to get the ball out of defence if Atalanta do put pressure on Celtic the way that Dortmund did a few weeks ago. That's how I feel Rodgers will most likely go, going with his usual 4-3-3, but being a wee bit tighter and deeper for starting positions to try and bolster midfield and defence, and relying a wee bit on counter-attack and breakaway and getting the midfielders forward to support the main striker. Other variations I think Celtic could go with, I think they could go with a back four of Ralston, Carter-Vickers, Scales and Valley, using Callum McGregor and Alistair Johnston as deep-lying defensive midfielders, with Rio Hitati and Arnie Engels playing as central midfielders, Dyson Maida having a free attacking midfielder role to go to the left and the right and drop back into midfield, with Adam Ida more as a target man player. That does give Celtic a lot more strength in defence, does allow the two fullbacks to come into midfield to support McGregor and Johnston, with some coverage at the back with Scales and Carter Vickers. Also does mean that any potential lack of pace from Scales and Carter Vickers would be minimised with them starting that wee bit deeper, and does allow Celtic the out ball of pumping the ball up to Adam Ida at the halfway line, maybe getting him to get us a wee free kick there, or holding up the play to allow the midfielders to come in and support him. Other thought I had myself was Celtic could go with a back five, Ralston on the right, with three central defenders, Johnston, Carter Vickers, Scales and Valley at left back, Callum McGregor as a defensive midfielder, Arnie Engels and Rio Hitati in front of him, Nicholas Kuhn having a role up and down the right side, coming in to support the main striker, with Dyson Maida playing as the main striker, which does again allow Maida freedom to go out to the left to create space for the two midfielders and Kuhn to come into. And also Maida obviously has a tremendous engine for getting back to support midfield and even come back to support deeper. I think there's merit in that formation as well. Alistair Johnston often has played central defence for Canada, has played central midfield, defensive midfield for Canada, and in Major League Soccer. And I think Johnston has the tactical brain to push a wee bit forward and drop back as the situation develops. Valley and Ralston are basically both good defenders. They both can push forward, which again could bolster midfield. We would lose a wee bit of Maida's pace and tracking back up and down the outside, but Dyson Maida has actually quite often for Japan in the past played as that sort of lone striker, using his pace and energy. So there may well be some merit in that formation as well. However, I think Rodgers will go with a variation on his standard 4-3-3, and Rodgers does not tend to be someone who adapts his tactics or his formations or his setups from game to game. He tends to use his standard formation, standard players, and tweaks now and again his tactics, which for me was part of the reason that we ended up drawing the game against Aberdeen at the weekend, as he didn't adapt things or change things to cope with Aberdeen swapping to a 4-3-3 and a 4-2-4. Quite a lot of different variations on what formation and what setup Celtic will go for. Many people are going for Adam Ida up front rather than Kyogo, with the feeling that Adam Ida does give us that out ball, does give us the option of getting balls into the box for Ida to score with his head, does also gives that wee bit more of an attacking threat at corners, etc. as well. But in the end, I think, as I said, Rodgers will go for Kyogo up front, hoping that Kyogo's pace and Kyogo's ability to pressurise defenders will help Celtic keep Atalanta under pressure and slow down Atalanta's ability to attack. Looking at the injury news, Celtic would appear to have an otherwise full squad, apart from Greg Taylor, who remains out but may be back in action next weekend. Atalanta, however, do have 6 or 7 players likely to be out for tomorrow's game. They appear to have a couple of players battling with the flu at the moment. One or both of them are expected to miss the game tomorrow, and they do have a number of injuries in key positions and are thought at the moment to be a wee bit light in terms of central defence, and so Atalanta may tweak their tactics from the usual setup to try and cope with having 2 or possibly 3 at the most fit, healthy centre backs at the moment. Going into the game, of course, Celtic are lying 20th in the table, which means at the moment we are still in that playoff bracket for the last 16 stage. Atalanta are on 4 points, 1 point ahead of us in 11th place after a win and a draw in their first 2 games. And so the question really is, does Celtic have a chance at getting a point away from home tomorrow in Bergamo against Atalanta? And I think the answer to that question is, if Celtic are set up in a more defensive, more pragmatic way, have players tracking back to support midfield and defence better than they did against Dortmund, if we play at or near our best, I think very much we can use the attacking ability of our midfielders and our wide players and the adaptability of our forward players such as Kuhn, Maeda, Ida and Kyogo. I think we can get a point tomorrow. And so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw and a brave, battling performance by Celtic, getting us a surprise away from home point. That finishes off today's wee preview of the Atalanta game tomorrow evening. And so just to finish off, if you are new to the channel and you like the video and like the channel, please do click that subscriber button, keep the numbers pushing further and further towards 1,100. Do pop your comments into the comment section regarding your own thoughts for tomorrow's team, formation, tactics, and a predicted score. And if you do like the video, please do click that like button. And we'll be planning to do a post-match reaction video, most likely first thing on Thursday morning. And so until then, good luck Celtic in your game against Atalanta tomorrow in Bergamo. Goodbye and hail, hail.